Don't hit it that hard. Man, that hurts your ears.
You need to come to the city council meeting. Our mayor really whacks it.
He does?
No.
He does.
Well, you know what it is. Well, we got a lawyer here. Now it's a banker. A banker does that. Say something, Charles.
All right, I call the meeting to order of the October 24th. Durant Tourism Economic Development Authority. First order is an invocation and flag salute.
You ready? Let's go.
Would you
All
like
stand
to
up.
lead us?
Invocation. Holy Father, we come to you today, and we ask you to give everyone in here health and peace and strength. And Holy Father, as we do this meeting, let it be a good meeting, and let us go along with the proposition we gave to the people and stay with that. So, Holy Father, we ask you to even bless this meeting and let every one of us have wisdom. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, here we go.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Debbie, you would
Yes.
call the roll.
Certainly. Trustee Anthony, yes. Trustee Calhoun?
Here.
Trustee Davis?
Here.
Trustee Reed?
Yes, here,
Trustee
I'm
Thorpe?
sorry.
Yes.
Vice Chairman DeWalt?
Yes.
Chairman Shear?
Here. Okay. Approval of the minutes. Any discussion on the minutes from the last meeting, September 26th?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Trustee Anthony, yes. Trustee Calhoun?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes,
Trustee Thorpe?
Yes.
Vice Chairman DeWalt?
Abstain.
Chairman Shear?
Yes. Financial reports?
Okay, Charlie, now we actually get the bank statement. Notice that.
it's on page,
It's
starts on page
6.
6, right there, Charlie.
And Grace has also done a wonderful job of making sure she includes the copies of the checks and where all the money went.
How much did we have in the bank at the last meeting?
Gosh, that down at the school.
It's gonna be, what was that, the top of the balance
It
sheet,
says
Charlie?
651.
Yeah, 651, 0548.
Was that at the meeting date?
That would have been at the end, it probably wouldn't have reflected that, because we're a month behind. This is the statement for September. So this is, it was the August statement, so that's probably,
But I think this is the most current we've ever had it presented, I think.
that would have been the balance, so at the last meeting, top of the August
That's what this
statement.
is too.
No, this is the September,
That's the end of September.
yes,
It's the same thing as that up there.
the current balance is right here, the 614,769 is what is ended at. This is the daily balance summary at the very bottom.
The previous balance is what you're saying was at the end of
Yes, what was at the end
September?
of August.
August.
This is September statement that we've got here.
Okay.
Grace, thank you also for doing the printout of the individual, the budget to show what we have in each line item. And that starts on page 10, correct? And this is, Charlie, this is what we have done, every check that's been written for this fiscal year. That's a printout of each one of the line items, the budget line items that we have.
Do we have one more concert, or that was last one?
That was the last one.
Well,
Mm.
do we know the total amount we spent on that?
Uh-huh.
What is that?
It would be, there was 100,000 spent on that, and then when we break it down, I don't think we came in less than 50 because we had allocated 150,000, and we came in at about 125, I believe, correct?
You'll have to look at, the details in the minutes, and we'll say why it was approved, the concert series. I can tell you that,
What page is it on?
all of them. Any of the line items that say promos advertising, and then next to it is the minutes listed, and then it'll have time capsule or concert series. Those are the little line items
Awesome
that
job.
fall under that.
That's
Yes,
the
it
dates,
is.
Jim,
Fall
of the
concert
minutes where
series.
it was
Series,
approved.
fall concert series.
I can't be 100% sure, but I think the total amount that we allocated was 150,000, and we came in at a little bit under 125.
With all that advertising.
Yeah, with the advertising cost.
This fall concert series set up barricades.
Mhm.
Was it paid to somebody that lives in Clear? Is that what I'm reading?
It was paid to someone that has a Calera address.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
So the turnout was pretty good on this?
Turnout was excellent. The first one was rained out, but we moved it to Law Street. They let us use that facility without any charges, and it went over.
That's the city's, land, Law Street?
No,
No.
it was just, they've got a big, no, you get what, but 300, 400 people in your,
Get up to 800 people.
up to
Yeah, in the
800
warehouse.
people, yeah, in the
Is
warehouse.
that your land on Law Street?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So it's not the city's land, right?
No, it's moved inside, it was inside because of the weather.
Inside your place? How many did you put inside?
800-ish.
Good.
We need to be using our mics.
Does everyone have their mic on? I'm sorry. We should have reminded everyone.
The last one was having a little bit of problem because they had, the high school, I drove around it and it didn't look like how many people were there on that Thursday night.
You must have came early then, because it started out with a minimal crowd, and Danny came a little bit later that night, but that thing was completely full. Not full, we could have put more people in there.
The biggest one was the third one,
Yeah.
Mike and the Moon Pies. Mike and the Moon Pies.
Well, no, Tracy Burke.
No, oh.
Tracy Burke.
Tracy
Yeah,
Burke.
Tracy was the third one. Mike and Moon Pies were the second.
That's the one I
right?
got to go to.
Yeah.
And it was crowded.
How many
You
did
like
the
the moon
biggest
pie?
one have?
Yeah, my
I would
daughter
say we had
actually
close to
went see 'em.
5,000
I didn't
that
think
night,
they were,
Charlie.
to
And
be
this
honest
was at the
with you.
square?
This
They
was
were
on the
like 'em.
square, yes.
And they were very entertaining.
What we did was to
there's
guesstimate
one
in
of 'em, I
groups
don't
of
remember
20,
who it was,
we would count
but there's
20
most
off and
people
then
I've
try to
seen anyway,
block it that
in the
away.
last 2 years,
And
it's
it
the
was,
biggest.
What happened to the crowd after it was over? Did they mill around downtown or?
that's funny. Fran Mickle has always told me that you know the success of your party if people don't want to leave after it's over. We couldn't get the people off the square, so I guess we had a successful party.
But they didn't go over on Main Street or?
They were
To the
in that
businesses?
area, every one of those businesses that were there. And Miss J's was the only one that actually stayed open as far as the retail end. But the rest of the restaurants and the grills and the bars that were open did very well that evening.
Yes.
I talked to Sean, and Sean's telling me that no business down there unless it's a restaurant or bar stand open. They're closed at 5 o'clock or 5:30, so all of them closed up
Sean?
at Opera House.
Oh.
Well, why don't they stay open for afterwards?
I don't know. I asked him if there's benefiting very much, and he said, the shops are closed. How can it benefit? So,
Well, they're not really shopping for clothes. I'm sure, I know Rocky's place, our hibachi was packed before and after.
a food place will be, but I'm just saying,
Well, he'd serve food.
nobody stays open after 5 o'clock in regular business.
We present an opportunity, I can't, if they don't take it, we can't explain that.
And can y'all talk about the merch and how you found out all the different zip codes?
Yes, would you report on that,
Can we
Grace?
report on it?
Oh, at the end?
Yeah,
Okay.
We can
we're
on
not in that part of the
informational
agenda.
items, yes.
I mean, that's an issue. I mean,
I mean, if we draw a crowd downtown, they ought to be on it like a duck on a June bug.
I make a motion, we go ahead, if there's no other questions
Yeah.
about the financial
Okay.
report.
now let's go on, okay. We got 2 grants.
No, we have to vote on that, don't we?
Oh, we do.
Or is
We
that
don't-
just a
no.
review? That's just
That's just a review, okay.
Sorry.
Have 2 grants, one Bassmasters.
After I asked them the questions from last meeting, they since then have decided to just move to next year. So they told us that we can go ahead and disregard this, and they might bring it back up next year.
Okay,
So that's reflected in the amount still remaining in the grant award.
It has no effect on the amount.
She did not put them in.
I know it says 30,000, and that's 10,000 more than we thought we had last year. I mean, last month.
It was never voted on, so it was never taken out of that.
Right. It was never taken out. We didn't vote on
So we had more money than we thought last month. Am I correct, or?
Nothing would have changed.
and we thought we
didn't
might
vote on
spend it,
that one,
but we're
Charlie.
not going to,
We had
yeah.
questions about it,
Yeah, I had questions.
and we didn't vote on it.
It was never approved. We wanted more answers.
Okay,
So we just put no
Do-
action on this, or table it, or?
yeah, just,
Well,
we need to
they
vote?
They pulled the
they
grant.
Right,
withdrew,
so-
withdrew the grant, so yeah, there's nothing. It's a moot point now. The Deer Riding Club, PRCA Rodeo 2024.
We got some folks here to present on that.
Hey, before we get to that, let me ask a question. I'm just wondering on the financial report, if, of course, we can't this time because it's not on the agenda, but I'm not sure we shouldn't accept the financial report formally as a group.
Are we still having it here?
I mean, that legitimizes it then. I'd like to suggest that we do that from now on. We can't do it tonight because it's not. our
Accept
decision.
and approve.
Mhm.
Okay. We
Okay.
may need to wait until we get to new business on that, and we can.
I mean, at the end of the day, a financial report is just a report. It's not a budget. It's not an allocation. It's not new spending. It's a report on existing expenditures. And so, let's say in a scenario where somebody wanted to vote, no, I don't approve the review. What would that even effectively mean if it's just showing what we've already spent?
Unless there was a reason for not approving it. I
Well,
mean,
that would be
There
what-
could have been an expenditure that wasn't approved. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but there could be an expenditure that hadn't been approved by the group, or there's several different things that could happen.
But if that were to,
Even typos.
That wouldn't have anything to do with the report, that would
Right.
mean.
The
mean
report would be
somebody's
what
in
informs you of
violation.
that
If somebody
expenditure.
spends money that's not approved, then there's other issues to be dealt with than approving the report.
But once you accept it, then you've accepted, that's the way it is. And every board I've ever been on, we had to accept the,
Looks like everything should be accepted by the board.
I think that, okay, so let's take a step back. Typically, you approve the budget so that the board approves what the entity can spend. And that budget can include estimated expenditures, actual approvals, that kind of thing. But the report that comes back from those expenses, which is what we have here, not a budget, but a report, shows us the checks that were cut and all that kind of thing. So let's say if we make this a votable item where we can approve it or not approve it, what happens is if you say, oh, well, I don't approve that, or let's say the board votes no on a report, that wouldn't have any substantial effect because you can't undo the spending by the board. You can take other remedies, you can, say, oh, that shouldn't have been spent or whatever, but you can't, the report is just what informs you of something you may or may not like. Does that sort of make sense?
it does make sense, but there's a little difference in that we've approved a certain amount
Mm-hmm.
at the first of the fiscal year for the budget and different items in the budget. But then during the year, we approve what amounts to a sub-approval of items that are in the budget
Mm-hmm.
to be done. And this whole report shows all of that.
But if you were to reject the report, that doesn't change what actually was spent, right?
It may be wrong here, and this becomes a record.
Okay.
I still think we may be out of order. If we're going to
Okay.
discuss that, it may need to
At
be
the
a new
new, okay,
business.
we'll take it up to new business. That brings us to the Deer Ant Riding Club, PRCA Rodeo.
Are you ready?
Susan, I bet you have something to say.
Always.
What page is that?
It's gonna be at the very back, Charlie, right there, you've got it.
Like number 30?
No, this is Bassmaster.
Okay, keep
It's on
going.
the start of the grant's on page 30
Keep going. It's on
for
page
this
30.
coming year. Okay, I'm Susan Edlin. I'm with the Durant Riding Club PRCA Rodeo. I'm on the executive committee, and we have sent in a grant for our 83rd rodeo, which is 2024. It's going to be May the 31st, which is a Friday, and June the 1st, which is a Saturday. Right after the rodeo, after we clean up the arena and take a 2-week break, we start working on the next rodeo. And like I said, it will be our 83rd. And I haven't been there quite that long. A little bit, but not quite. This past year, our purse to the Cowboys was over $92,000. And we do bring in many of the PRCA rodeo cowboys that are going to Vegas. They come to our rodeo to qualify. And to qualify for Vegas, it's total earnings that puts them there. And I will say that our stock contractor, Danny Reagan, United Pro Rodeo, always has stock at Vegas. He is always there, so he is a great stock producer for us. We have a big screen that we have had for several years. Last year, we took an undertaking to put in a hospitality pavilion. It was sponsored by lanefrost.com. It was finished just in time for the rodeo. Our contractor promised it would be, and it was. Lane Frost parents were there Friday night at the rodeo, and they helped us break it in. So if you were at the rodeo, it is on the west side of our arena. We are 901c3 nonprofit, so we're all volunteers that come and work the rodeo and put it on. We have several sponsors, and we start working on them right now. So hopefully, Discover Durant will again be one of our major sponsors. And the big screen that I mentioned before, we've had that several years, and our big sponsors have their commercials on it, and also we have logos of our other sponsors. So that's about all. Do you have any questions? I have our media person here, Brandy Nelson. If you have any questions, I'm going to let her speak and let her tell you how we advertise the rodeo. There you
Yeah, thank you so much. I just found out 30 minutes ago that I was going to be here. I walked across the hall from my office. So I do all of the media. We have Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and last year most of our posts reached somewhere around 30,000 people every post. We brought people in from multiple states, but we started selling tickets online the year before last. Last year it became a really big deal. We sold a lot of tickets online, and we were selling all the way San Antonio. People were driving in to see this rodeo. There were people that were passing through and bought tickets and stayed here in Durant to watch the rodeo for that weekend. So social media has been a really big help for us to get the word out. I mean, it wasn't until recently that people in Sherman realized that we had a rodeo in Durant, because they don't have anything like that in Sherman, Denison area. This is the closest thing that you can get, and you're going to see the NFR contestants here in Durant.
Brandy, how has our brand utilized Discover Durant? How do you use it? How will we be branded?
So we, when you sponsor, which you have in the past, multiple years, all of our social media, anything that we post, we'll do specific post for individuals like event sponsors and major sponsors, but every post that goes out has Discover Durant tagged in it. Your logo is on the big screen, it's on our rodeo tickets, it's on our the flyers that go out. It's
on the big screens, it's on the highway. We had 2 marquees on the highway this year, so it is on there.
Any advertisement that we have, whether it is printed, digital, your logo's on there, so you are a main sponsor.
And the crowds start coming in on Wednesday, correct? And they usually stay until Saturday
or Sunday, really, because
Right.
we have,
Oh, that's right,
we have a
but,
performance
yeah.
Saturday night, so
Yeah.
they're there until Sunday. Some people leave on Monday.
So there's a possibility of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, a 4-night stay in the hotels.
Yes,
Okay.
And they do stay from.
yes,
I was gonna say,
yes, they do.
The hotel people can tell us whether or not.
And all my employees love all those cute cowboys and Levi's. They're Wranglers or whatever they wear.
Yeah.
No, I'm not seeing anything on here, so all the directors and what y'all do, y'all just do this free gratis, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And volunteers.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all
Yes.
volunteers.
That's amazing.
We have 4 officers and 4 on the executive board. And we do have some volunteers from our play days, because we have 10 play days, and some of them step up, but yeah.
She spends hours
have to
and
love it,
hours
don't you?
on.
Yes, everybody rodeo weekend is a volunteer.
Yes.
With PRCA, you have to have a vet on site the entire time that anything is going on in the arena. Our vet is a volunteer. She stays there. Her whole family stays the entire weekend.
So this is a nonprofit organization?
Yes.
It's a 501c3. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve their presentation for a grant of $10,000.
Second motion.
Trustee Anthony, yes. Trustee Calhoun?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Trustee Thorpe?
Yes.
Vice Chairman DeWalt? Yes. Chairman Shear?
Yes. How many years?
And I love it.
Yeah, how many years have you been our PRCA?
This will be the 4th year for
Fourth year.
PRCA, but it's the 83rd Durant
Yeah,
Rodeo
but
that's coming up.
It's grown since you.
Yes, and I
gone
will
with
say
PRCA.
we have 2,500 tickets that we print, and we were nearly sold out of those. Now, I will say Friday night, if you went out there, both sides of the stands were totally full. Now, there was a little rain Saturday night, and that scares off the spectators. And I tell them, the Cowboys are there. You know, they're there because they have to be there. They cannot skip our rodeo because they're wanting that money to get to Vegas. So the crowd Saturday night was a little bit smaller than Friday, and people say, oh, you know, it's going to, I said, no, Cowboys are there, you come on out. But we have 2,500 tickets that we, and I've always given some to the tourism board. Haven't seen you there.
Well, we just want to tell you,
That's
we
because-
appreciate you on the economic front and all the tourism we bring in. Y'all been doing this for many years, and you have to love it to do what you're doing.
Well, we do have some dedicated people. So, thank you.
Thank
you.
I'm gonna look for you this year, because
I'm
Chamber
not-
always has the VIP passes for you guys.
Yeah,
Don't you, Janet?
I brought my grandkids and with me about a couple, 3 years ago, and
Okay.
they enjoyed it.
Because 12 and under gets in free,
Sure.
because we figure they have to bring their parents, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. We couldn't
Thank
do it
you.
without
Thank you.
Discover Durant.
Brings us to item number 4, discussion on moving the board meetings to the Durant Area Chamber of Commerce meeting space. Anybody have anything they'd like to?
I just wanna know the pros and the cons. I'm not arguing anything. I just would like to know the pros and the cons, cause I can't really
Oh, no, that's
wrap
what
my
it
head
is.
around why we would.
Anytime you save $100 or $1,000, whatever, we have to pay to use this space.
No, we don't.
And the employees, yes, we do.
The
They
city
charge
pays-
us, what, $1,000, from what I remember, they charge us, because we talked to them before, and they charge us money for using this space for 2 hours.
We started paying them because they were doing bookkeeping and
Yeah, that's when we were
space,
paying them.
and mainly bookkeeping is what we were paying them for. This was under the previous city manager.
And how much are we paying them?
I don't know what we're paying, if we're paying them anything. now.
Chairman, I talked to Ann Chin just today, and she said that they have not charged us and that they don't plan on it. They don't have our money anymore. It goes into our account. And she said that we're not being charged for it.
And how about use of the city facilities like this?
We're not being charged to be here.
Even for someone that's working overtime
No.
to make sure that the media has been taken care of?
Not according to Ann Chin this morning.
I thought we was having to pay them to run this for us.
Not according to Ann Chin this morning.
No.
Grace, do you have a position on this, on where we meet? A recommendation to us?
There's pros and cons, so, everybody has their pros and cons, so I think they should say what they are.
From the chamber side, there's no objection at all to this. Really, there's really no pros or cons as far as the chamber's concerned. The only thing would be if we live stream, which I think we should continue to do so, there would be an expense of utilizing the technology and getting that put in order to do that. We already have a portion of the equipment, but that would have to be factored in. There would be a cost on that.
It's not a requirement of the meeting to have it live streamed.
No. But it would be good for the community to be able to see the business of the board.
If we can do it for not have to pay for it.
Sure.
That's what we're doing now.
That's what we're doing now.
That's what we're doing now.
Well, of course, this has been some time ago, but the city manager before last, I have trouble keeping up with him, but the city manager before last said that we were having to pay for.
We did, I
And we
think
were.
we did.
We were.
I don't even know if we ever actually paid, I don't know if we ever.
It was
actually paid.
wrapped up
They were
in
taking
our,
some out.
it was
We
all
did.
wrapped up in how they did their
But
accounting.
that was really more because of the bookkeeping with
We've been
in
paying
the
our
financial
bills and all
department,
that.
not the use of space here.
I had asked that,
Yeah.
and he said yes.
Mhm.
Well, he also
It
didn't know
was a
about
he.
the university either, so, ever.
It
Well,
was,
that was what I was under the impression, that when the manager come up and said that we're paying for.
the manager
for-
told us
For
that.
the building,
You talking about
and the
John?
person over here and the television screen too.
No, I think he just rolled all that. I think he was trying to say, using all those resources. But the main issue was the bookkeeping. And,
What we were mainly paying.
yeah. And so we're not paying anything.
And so we're not being charged for this since when?
Since
Since
June, I
18th.
Yeah.
believe,
Since when?
Since we took the books away?
June,
Right.
June of this year,
when we moved the account.
Good.
so we're not being charged for this.
No. And they don't charge any of the other boards for meeting here either. I don't. It's
Do they charge the other boards for the accounting?
I can't speak to that. I mean, actually,
I mean, there's no one here can speak to it but you.
probably not, because even though they're board, they're included in the city. We're a separate entity than, I mean, the airport authority is a separate entity, utilities, but all that is done by the city.
I think there's a strong argument.
We're not doing stuff for the city. We're doing stuff.
Well, if we know we're not paying for it,
No, we're not paying for it. We're not paying for it.
Yeah, I just know because we do have a contract with them and in the contract with Chamber, we have to have a meeting to take care of all of us in a board meeting. So it's in there as far as in the contract. You have to have a meeting place for.
So are you
for a
saying
meeting.
because we're paying the chamber to manage it, they ought to provide the meeting place?
You gotta have a big enough meeting place. That's what it says in the contract.
No,
I don't
No.
know. I haven't
it
seen
says
that
we
condition.
provide an office, and we do provide that. Grace is the one that.
Doesn't say anything about a meeting
Doing that.
place.
I thought
I
it
recall a
did.
meeting.
But there
place.
again, there's no objection to doing that.
Yeah.
There's no objection to that, and there won't be a charge, except the streaming charge, and we will have to have compensation for that if there are charges,
Okay.
if we decide to go ahead and do that.
I think there's a strong argument for staying in this location. I think it's sort of making itself over the course of these conversations. First, this space is not a charge to us. Second, we have the infrastructure in place for streaming. Third, it's a traditional meeting place. People are used to us meeting here. I obviously haven't been on the board very long, and this is my first meeting, but this is where people expect a lot of local boards to meet, whether they are municipal or not. And so all the momentum is behind sticking around in this location, at least from my perspective.
And you say that, for years, and you weren't around, I guess, at that time, but the DIA did not have their meeting here. They had it over to Chamber of Commerce, and they had contracted out with the Chamber of Commerce to have the meeting place over there, and that's where they had their board meetings for years
Mhm.
until lately. So it hasn't always been here.
Well, all other
But is there any substantial reason that that would be preferable?
They could have had them over here at the time, but they preferred to have it over there where Janet's office is right now. They had a conference table, all of that. We used to go there until in the last year or two, they moved it somewhere over here.
Okay.
Did the
It's
DIA
always
meet in here
been
at all?
Oh, the DIA.
I think they meet in here.
They do. The DIA meets in here.
Because Mike is on the DIA. That's where
So
he's
it does meet
appointed
here now.
from.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because for years it did. So it's not like that people had to be here to have a board meeting.
I
We
think
need
they
to meet
just
here on
started
the
that
fifth.
the last year,
Sure.
sometime within the last year.
But I don't see the point in it.
Yeah, I
We've
know,
always
I
met
know
here.
the previous
Or-
city manager moved a lot of meetings here because he wanted it to be online and if people could access it online, this is where it is. 'Cause we used to have our airport board meetings at the airport. I prefer them at the airport,
They
because we're
still
at the
don't?
airport.
They don't?
No, we have them there now. So,
But it's
That
not,
was-
it's
that
not
was it.
mandatory to have it online.
I don't know.
No.
It's not mandatory to have it
It's not.
online, but I would
No,
favor
it's
it
not
to
They only
continue
have to
being
have a tape
online.
recorder or a recording of it, right?
No. So I think if you move to take it offline, people are gonna be
They're gonna
wondering,
question it more
hey,
than-
what are they up to?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
What are they gonna,
Like,
what
we're-
they
they
trying to
used to,
hide?
we used to go
You really-
online and watch it anytime we wanted.
You really think that many people
Or people coming in here.
watch it?
It's-
No,
it's-
I don't-
it's-
I don't-
That's
I
not
doubt
the
that
point, but
there's
if we
not-
were ever questioned about anything that you surely are always adamant about,
They can
we
always-
need to have it all spelled
They can
out,
always
and they
question
can
you,
watch
but,
it.
you know, we'll let them look at the books, it's not like that, you know. If they think we're
That's
gonna
a
question us
different
over there,
story.
we got the books behind us, so they can just go question that.
Right.
Again, the chamber, I'm sure, will not oppose. We would have to take it before our board of directors to put it to a vote. I'm sure that they would have no problem with it. But there again, we are not being charged for this. You would not be charged at the chamber as well. But I don't know that there's a reason to move it.
I don't think there
And I
is.
do agree with Mike that I really think we need to continue to make sure that they're streamed just for public
Do we
viewing.
have a copy of the contract in our notebook that you fixed up for us?
The contract between the chamber,
Yes.
I'm not sure.
You can find it online in the minutes where it was voted on. And I believe that's February of last year. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, February of this year, the 23rd.
We voted on it each year.
Yeah. Whatever the terms of the contract are, and I'd have to go back and look, Charlie.
I didn't remember us voting on it, but we could have, but there's a lot of things I don't remember sometimes.
I understand that.
My personal feelings are, there's not anything to be gained by
Yeah,
moving
that's
it.
kind of
Yeah.
the way I'm looking at it. I think it's. gonna
If we're
waste
not
time for
being
everyone.
charged.
Grace has the email to verify that, in case there's ever any questions asked, stating that there's no charge for this.
Good.
So we can have that by the next meeting from the city of Durant, that there's no charge for this.
Sounds like we already have it.
We already have it.
We haven't
She's
written
got
any
it.
checks. I haven't signed
I don't
any
think we've
checks.
ever gotten it in writing.
Pay the city.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
We have not paid the
Those we
city.
were charged at one time.
It sounds like it is in writing, though. I mean, an email is a writing.
Yeah.
It is.
I didn't get one of them, so
Okay.
I'd like to see it in writing. I think that's what you're asking for, isn't it?
Sure.
I can print the emails or forward them to the board.
Okay. All right.
So I'll make a motion to keep it here, or are we gonna? keep our
We need
meeting- our
to,
monthly regularly scheduled meetings here?
we need to either vote on it or vote to take it off of the agenda so that we don't
Okay.
continue to bring it up.
I'll vote for our meetings to retain here as long as there's no charge in writing that we have on record.
I second that motion.
Trustee Anthony, yes. Trustee Calhoun?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Trustee Thorpe?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Dewalt?
Yes.
Chairman Shear?
Yes. Okay. Number 5. Do we want to do an appointment of a subcommittee to consider a lawn contract with the city of Durant? And this is over the median in the Highway 75 Main Street corridor.
I'd like to see the interchange out by the pool also included.
This is on the 2-year plan for ODOT, that, to redo that bridge and the one that crosses Arkansas as well, the flyovers. And so I'm not sure that I'm not sure what a committee could do until after the project is already underway.
Well, this next year, I mean, there won't be anything until 25, isn't that?
And I
Am I
don't know,
understanding
Charlie. I do not know.
Except
I just
maybe
know it's on the,
Some surveying or something.
right, right.
It
But
wouldn't be
what
bad, it wouldn't be bad to have a committee start. Like I said, you might not be able to do much now, but it'll give you a head start. And I don't mind being on the committee. I don't know about you, Charles, but I wouldn't mind being on the committee to keep this
I
moving
don't
along.
mind being on the committee.
I mean, I think some of this gets back to, we bought some equipment, and we paid the city some, and it actually did make a difference.
It did make a difference.
It did make a difference out there.
You're exactly
And-
right, because it
and-
looked like trash out there, and there was always people underneath that overpass. And I've talked to quite a few people, even the guy that we had from CMC, he told me, I said, would you want, if you're driving into town and you kicked off on that road, you know, this was when he was on the board at that time, and the grass was just high, and people that was staying underneath that underneath the overpass with their basket. And he said, I wouldn't wanna live here if it was gonna be like that.
Well-
When we decided to focus in on that has changed that ever since, and you're exactly right.
That was kind of a Kickstarter for the city, and I think that the city probably needs to be prodded in that direction. Speaking.
And it's not, if we don't prod it now, it'll go back to the same thing in 3 or 4 years.
Speaking as a councilman, I would like the city to allocate more resources to making it look better, not just those intersections, at all places, all gateways coming into.
I make a motion that the chair appoint a committee to do some research and come back with some hard figures and hard cost and a plan.
And I'll second that.
I think we need to have what's gonna be taken care of outlined, which we ended up having, but it didn't include space that's along over there where, Brahms and Taco Bell and all of that stuff in there was then complained about by people down that road. I didn't hear the complaint, but I heard that the complaint was made to a member on the council. You may have been one of them that they complained to.
Well,
They
saw
said
some
they
people
did
that-
all that
Yeah.
they did, and it looked good, but then they left weeds.
Left stuff out, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's gonna happen. I mean.
But I mean,
we could
can
spend our entire, we could spend our $400-something a year, and we get, trying to make, I mean, it'd take a lot more than that to make things look like what most of us like for them to look like. And the city doesn't have that. I think what we were doing was trying to get the city headed that direction and to start doing a better job.
Well, it looked a lot better when they were working.
I'll make a motion for Janet on getting the committee up.
Okay.
A motion's on the floor.
So I said,
Yep.
the motion was already here, I'll motion.
The motion-
I did a second on it.
The motion is on the floor and seconded,
Okay.
and chair will appoint that committee.
Okay, how many people do we need on that committee? Well, I guess we need to.
Can't be more than 3.
Can't be more than 3. Okay.
I wouldn't mind.
Trustee Anthony.
I'll be on it.
Okay.
Charles may be on it.
And Danny?
Danny, yeah.
The liaison between city council.
Okay,
That'd be
Me and
good.
Charles.
Very
okay.
good.
Trustee Anthony, yes. Trustee Calhoun?
Yeah.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Trustee Thorpe?
Yes.
Vice Chairman DeWalt?
Yes.
Chairman Shear?
Yes. Okay. Number 6, moving 300,000 into a 5% plus 11-month CD.
I called to verify with the bank that this was still a standard percentage, and Brandon Johnson said that yes, that we could do that if we wanted to. And I talked to our attorney, and the attorney said that in his opinion, it would be, just to use a good, we would be being good stewards of the people's money by investing it that way, because on that much interest, we actually will nearly have 2 additional grants that we could fund if we do it that way.
Do we have an excess of 300,000 that we can do that with from our budget?
Well, we're showing that we had 648, I believe, in there right now. We're about halfway through our year, and we are still showing slightly, I believe we have over 250 left in our budget for this 23-22, and most of those allocations are already spoken for. So I would say yes, I would feel comfortable after looking at the financials. I would say comfortably that we can do that.
Is this
So how much
CD?
money would it accumulate in 1 year?
That's $15,000.
How much?
$15,000. Okay, if you find 5.5%, it'd be 16,500.
And it's going
I actually
up.
think that I had Grace put 5+ because it was, what I think he quoted me was 5.38 at the time we talked.
It's in the process of going up right now.
Are all the
That's
banks
right.
about the same interest rate?
Whatever the best
I
we
think
can get.
200, I think you have to do at least 250 to get the higher rates, and that I don't know, because
Did you
I
check
did
with
not
all
ask
3
that
banks?
question. Did I check with all 3 banks?
Or 3, 4, or just First United?
I just checked with First United because I felt like all rates would be competitive. If this is what we wanted to do, then we could look to make sure that if we wanted to move it. And this is an 11-month CD.
Well, whatever amount we do, we want to make sure it's covered by the federal insurance.
Do they cover up to 250?
Federal insurance covers up to 250. Now, the bank has a product that they can put behind it to secure that additional 50. I would also want to make sure that the 650 or rough that we have is covered by Cedars or something
It is.
in a sweep account. So
And we have a letter of confirmation on that
that's
as
the most
well.
important
It's covered
thing.
up to 750,000.
Okay, as long as that's the case, I'd like to make a motion to convert $300,000.
Hold on a second on that right there. You're saying the first 250 is going to be covered from the FDIC.
Yes.
What is the other $50,000 going to be covered by?
It's a credit line is the way that it was explained in the letter, but we have the letter in file stating that it is guaranteed up to 750.
There is, like he said, there is a product that they can, but somebody's got to pay for that product.
I know there's a product there, but is this extra $50,000 going to be covered by that product?
Which extra 50? You talking about over the 250?
Yeah, you got 300,000, you got the 250 covered by FDIC. Are we going to have the other 50,000 covered by, or is it just going to be sitting out there? Have you
As
talked
Scott
about that?
explained, yes, and we have a letter confirming that.
Okay.
So I'd like to go ahead and press a motion to move $300,000 into a 5% plus 11-month CD.
Okay.
Authorize Janet and staff to take care of that.
I second that motion.
Okay.
Trustee Anthony, yes. Trustee Calhoun?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Trustee Thorpe?
Yes.
Vice Chairman DeWalt?
Yes.
Chairman Sheet?
Yes. Number 7, moving 50,000 into a special projects budget. Who wants to speak?
I'll be glad to speak on that. If you look at our grants on the website, you have a grant amount for 2,500 and for 10,000, and then there is a special project grant. We never allocated funds for that special project grant, and we have had some interest in the special projects. We have not had one presented because we did not have funding in that, and we have pushed them back to the grants. But we will have enough. As Charlie stated, we have 648,000. I think, Grace, is that correct on our Debbie, I should be asking. I'm sorry, for this year at the bank. We have 648 in, okay. We're about halfway through our year, and we are going to have a sufficient amount to actually secure. We would have to amend the budget, but we could put 50,000 into that special project. And that
See, I
would
don't
be,
understand why we have to do that. I mean, they can come before the board, they've done it in the past, if they need the 25,000, they will do it. And I
that's
think-
why we need to do it. We don't need anyone just walking in and being able to carte blanche, put something out and say, I want 100,000 for this project. We need to be backed up by paper, showing what they're wanting, their plan, just like we do a grant. And if we do that with a special project, with the special project, if you will look on the website, it has the paperwork there. We just don't have any funding in that account.
So when it does come, they still gotta come before the board and try to get that, right?
And then we have to do this procedure.
Or can it be okay by the Chamber of Commerce and just give it to them?
It cannot be okay, anything cannot be okayed by the Chamber of Commerce.
It's gotta come before the board anyhow, right?
Yes,
Well, you know, once we pull this 300,000 out, which I'm all for that, I don't know how tight we're gonna be at that point.
well, Charlie, we still have income coming in on a monthly basis. It's averaging anywhere from 40 to 50,000 a month. So I think as far as having sufficient funding, I think we will be adequately covered.
What if we're not?
Then we have 300,000 in the CD.
I mean, we hadn't, what are we gonna do then? I mean, the CD is 11 months before you can get anything out
Well,
of
we
it.
got 11-month tax revenue to add up to.
I don't see any.
I'd like to see us wait, I don't see,
I do too, I think it needs to be tabled. What it is, this is no hurry on this. We ran this thing for 4 years beforehand, and it still has to come before the board, whether it's in 50,000 in this account or $50,000 in our general account, it doesn't really make any difference. I guess it still come before the board.
We used to not have the $10,000 cap though. Correct? You're right. Isn't that right, Nick?
we
The only
still-
time that we-
did the $10,000 cap because we felt like we were just blowing money to everybody, you know? So we
We've
lowered
had that for a
the
long time.
cap.
Five or 10
We've had
years.
the $10,000 cap's been there.
We still have that.
The $10,000 cap has been there, I believe, for the last 2 years, and that was in the grant. That was in the grant.
Is this, do you envision this 50,000 every year in a special project?
I'm talking about for the remainder of this year, which means
Yeah.
that we will have to amend our budget.
Because
Well, you
if
know,
we're sitting at zero,
our
it needs to be
new-
replenished.
Our new fiscal year hadn't been, maybe,
Started
let's
in
see,
July.
we've had July, August, September, and nearly October. That's 4 months, and we've already spent ourselves down pretty good.
Which substantiates the fact, because we've spent nearly 120,000 in grants, which is what we are here for. We're here to make sure that those fundings, personally, that's what I feel.
But we
To
still,
make sure that those
we
fundings.
still can do it if somebody brings a good idea up, but surely that idea is gonna be worth more than just a month's time.
Sure.
I disagree with that. I think we need to have papers substantiating what they're doing.
Well, I guess we disagree.
Well, that's
We can,
okay.
that's why we can vote on it.
That's okay.
Well, we've done it
We
for
can do
the
that.
last 4 years and really stopped anything from going through. I don't see why putting another $50,000 in another account just to do that.
It's not
They
really
can still
a
come before the
different
board, and
account.
they've got $25,000 for the wall and 3 or 4 more things, even for the monument to the Choctaw.
It's not
So
moving
they've
to
got,
a
went through and you've got that money, so why do we need to put it in another account?
It's not another account, it's just another line item on the budget.
Yeah.
It still looks like it's in another account. Yeah,
So Jim, do you feel comfortable with letting anyone just walk up to that podium and asking us carte blanche
I
for a
don't-
check?
I don't feel bad about somebody
I'll
coming
put
up
this
and
way.
asking if they're part of the public.
That's right. And if they don't wanna come back to us and ask us there, then they probably don't need the money anyhow. That's
Well, I
ridiculous.
want some paperwork.
It could demonstrate financial stewardship on our part if we allocate money to a budget that is up for grabs for such requests, right? And to replenish that budget on a frequent basis, especially if it's what we've done in the past, keeps us in line with past practice.
Well, we've
But
done.
you don't have to allocate the budget.
We've
It's
done-
there anyhow, they've got
we've-
it anyhow, without the allocation.
We've done special projects
Sure we have.
for 3 times that.
You bet.
And it's
But
had to be
been
pulled,
considered over,
it's had to be pulled out
couple
of
of
line
months' time.
items in grants, and that's what I'm saying.
no, it didn't have to be pulled out of line items and grants.
That's where we were instructed to take it from.
For instance, our contract with the city, which was what, 100 and something thousand?
120, I believe, Charlie.
We didn't have any line item for that when we started, and we discussed it for a while and had a subcommittee work on it and then did it.
But it was put in the budget not for 2023, I'm sorry, 22-23, but for 21-22 as a contract labor, as a contract.
It wasn't put in the budget at the first of the
It
fiscal
wasn't.
year.
It wasn't this fiscal year, you're right. We didn't have that as a line item.
It's not in there now, but it's something that we're obviously thinking about. We haven't voted on it, but we've created a committee to do some research on it.
I just feel like that this would be a level of protection for each of the trustees, and also it would give some structure into what people need to do in order to ask for a special project.
I think discussion's been had and we should move to a vote.
I don't see the level of protection.
We don't
I
want
mean,
this.
We're here.
I can see the accounting.
I mean, this is your first meeting.
That's okay. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, there's no level of protection
Well,
when
I
it comes
know
down
what
to
I'm
it.
doing, too.
They see it online, they see it on television, they know exactly what's going on, so it's not like it's going to change anything on that 50,000. It's all up in front of people right now.
Janet, would you explain how having this
Right
special
now,
project budget, but keep just anybody from coming up and asking for,
it's not
special
gonna,
project?
it's not gonna stop anyone from coming up and asking, Danny. But if we don't have it in the budget, and we are tapped out on grants, we have very little left in that. So if someone came in at this point and even wanted 25,000, we don't have that 25,000 allocated in our budget to do that with, is what I'm saying. I would like to see this raised next year to where we have money in that special projects budget that's more than 50,000. I would like to see it matched by what we are doing with the grants. But I think we have to set criteria for those projects to where the budget can't be a $20,000 budget that they're bringing us and asking us to put in $70,000 or $80,000.
So why don't you just allocate another $50,000 for grants next year? It'd be the same difference as putting it in a different count or whatever you wanna call it. Do the same thing, allocate another $50,000 for grants next year.
But with the grants, we actually have those tapped at $10,000.
Sure.
There's two, but what's gonna stop the rodeo from walking in and saying, we're not gonna write a grant anymore? We're gonna ask you for $50,000 for our event.
You can ask $50,000 all you want to, but you gotta get
They
it
can
before this
ask.
whole board, and that's what we have to look into it. Really, I just don't see any sense in, if you're gonna do anything, allocate another $50,000 for grants next year and leave this out.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, that seems a little bit confusing because we have grants at 25 and 1,000, or 10,000, and special projects beyond that. To me, what's being requested is for this board to say, okay, we want you to budget and plan for 50,000 in special projects so that when someone calls and says, hey, we want a grant for X because we want to do Y, Z, and B, Janet or someone else can give the guidance and says, here's our guidance. Special projects are defined as this. We have up to 50,000 in a budget that has to come before the board. She can't spend it, or the chamber can't spend it, Grace can't spend it. But it does at least set aside a portion of the cash and doesn't steal from the grant side and puts aside 50,000 for a special project. So when someone calls, you don't just say, well, if you've got a request, bring it to us and we'll consider it. I think people would like to have some guidance and such. So if the time is appropriate, Mr. Chairman, and it hadn't already been done, I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Well,
I second that
I still
motion.
found this. You know, that all sounds good, but I haven't found one yet that doesn't have a valid and a good offer saying they need 25,000 that has been refused up to this date in 4 years. Whether it's a healing wall, whether it's a Choctaw project, they're still getting their $25,000 without what you're saying, without this. They're going back in it, so it's the same thing.
Having this in the budget, I say you got $50,000 of it. They say, okay, well, we've spent 30,000 of it, so if you need 40,000, you have to wait till next year.
Exactly.
To.
We
to
just need
approach it.
structure. We
This
need
does
a
give structure.
Yeah. It's not that we're gonna spend the 50,000, but I mean, it's just part of the budget.
But still, if they need it and they come in, even without this 50,000, they have been able to. get
I
what
believe
they
we
need.
I'd
have
call
a
the question.
motion and a second on the floor.
Call the question, please.
Trustee
Chairman,
Anthony?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Trustee Calhoun?
No.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Trustee Thorpe?
No.
Vice Chairman DeWalt?
Yes.
Chairman Shear?
Yes. Informational items, number 8. Grace?
There are some social media reports in the back of your packet if you're interested in looking at that.
What page is this on?
The last page, the last 2 pages of your packet. Our social media numbers skyrocketed with the fall concert series, which is awesome. And then I was also asked to talk a little bit more about what we did to track visitors at the fall concert series. So this happened the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th time. I took little slips of paper that asked for their name and where they're from so we could gather and collect their zip codes. In that, then we gave away $100 worth of merch, not even us. It was provided by Overdrive Entertainment.
It was provided by the artist.
Or by the artist.
Are you
So-
talking about the Facebook reach and Instagram reach page, or is it on the back of that?
For, what are you asking? I'm sorry.
Well,
We're-
I'm trying to find what page you're on.
I'm not on a page, I was just talking about the fall concert series.
Oh, okay.
So we had slips of paper where they filled out their name and where they're from. Then at the end of the concert, me along with some of the other trustees got on stage, kind of introduced them, said what Discover Durant was and how you guys are the reason that this was a thing. Got a lot of thank yous from the crowd, and then we drew a name for a winner of the merch. And we found people that came from Lubbock and Ada, a lot of Boswell, Boca Chica, Ada, I already said that. Just all the way around. We had a few from New Jersey. So McKinney and Frisco. We could really tell the areas. You approved the package for News 9, and I used that to promote the fall concert series, and we had a rise in Oklahoma City visitors after that aired.
On the
So.
Facebooks and Instagram, what was a big hit on about October 14th? Everything else was low here, all of a sudden it kicks up.
Concerts.
That one concert on October 14th, all the rest of them didn't kick.
After Tracy Bird, I think we really just
So he was.
hit the
big-
market.
He was a big one.
Absolutely.
The other ones weren't that good, right?
They weren't as popular as Tracy Bird, no.
They were pretty low.
Yeah.
We can get more of Tracy Bird if we want to up the amount.
Yeah.
Tracy cost us
You know,
nearly the
on
whole,
me, on that,
he cost us
it's like I
40.
told y'all last time, on 6
40,000.
concerts, and we weren't
How
picking
much?
anybody up besides around here. If we had to get this down to 2 concerts and get, a couple of them like Tracy Bird to bring bukus in, I don't mind, because this is showing me, outside of his big name, nobody got a hit on Instagram and Facebook much.
You could tell just being in town what concert day was the biggest hit. You could tell.
But you still had significant uptick on the other concerts.
Oh, yeah, by
I
the
mean,
last
you
week, I
can't
think
discount that.
everybody knew, I've been missing these, I've been missing these. And then I think Tracy Bird hit, and then we had one more follow-up week, and they're like, if I haven't gone to any of these four, I've gotta go now, or I just miss it for the
I
year.
think it was mainly,
So-
his name was a lot bigger than the rest of them.
It was,
That
yeah.
was the main deal.
Like I said, a lot of there was a lot of young people, the one I got to go to, which was awesome, but it was Michael and the Moon Pies. My daughter went, my daughter-in-law went, it's only 28, her friend went. I mean, and there was a lot younger crowd there. And then the Great Divide we wanted to go to and didn't get to, but all of our friends wanted to go to that one too, and a lot of them were there.
Sure, it's not a Tracy, it's not a Tracy Bird.
It was a lot of really good exposure for Discover Durant. And then your report from Choctaw Nation is on the back page with concerts coming up.
How many, Denison and Sherman have these, how many weeks how many shows do they have, do you know, Mr. Ralph?
They had 6 weeks, I
They had
believe.
6
Yeah,
weeks.
either
I think
four-
both of
yeah,
them had 6
is what-
weeks.
And we originally started with the 6 weeks,
Just money.
but it's just, it's too much for that time of the year, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Plus, you gotta have some pretty good sized money to bring big names in.
Well, for
can
6
bring-
weeks
You can
you
bring them in for $4,000, whatever, but all you're gonna get is a 25-mile radius, and that's it.
She just said there are people there from New Jersey, for goodness sakes. How far do you want to come from?
I'm talking about last year.
No, this year.
I'm not talking about this year, I'm talking about last year when we had 6.
It was year before last
Yeah,
that
it
we
was year
had
before
6.
last that we had 6,
Oh,
and we weren't getting
Yeah.
much on that. And they weren't coming from New Jersey.
No, we were right about going lower.
Yeah, and the time of year is just right as well. We have people complaining that Sherman and Denison is too hot, and the weather was great for us, aside from the first week, but it's good.
The weather has proven to be absolutely wonderful for us so far. We've had a couple of rainouts. The wind was terrific one night, and we moved it that night. That was last year. But the weather has been really good, and that's been, I guess, the highest compliment that we've received, is you guys do this at the exact right time of the year. And the football games, I was a little bit worried about the one on Thursday evening, but as soon as that let out, which the opening act goes on at 7, and then about 7:30 is when we pull the other one on, the main
I think
act.
7 o'clock, you didn't have much there.
And it just, they kept coming and coming.
I think at
So,
7 o'clock, you had more people standing out there by the road around you than in getting the place.
I wasn't in the
I saw
road.
you out there talking to people, so.
That one, the
That was
main
good.
band wasn't there. Oh, I mean, they weren't singing.
I think what's interesting too, my observation only, is that these analytics are impressive, and we can look at our analytics, but I did get a chance to see the Cleverleys and the Moon Pies and their analytics. They were doing videos for the town. They were doing a lot of things to expose the city of Durant and Bryan County to a customer base we're not used to. Hard to quantify, not sure what it's worth, but it's gotta be worth something.
and it's also, they're followed by, Grace, do you remember how many followers specifically that both of those artists had, both of those? I know we know that the Great Divide, you said around 13,000, and then the Moon Pie.
They were all about the
same.
same, and then probably double or triple Tracy Bird.
Well, the businesses are closed, so you got the restaurants and his place, and that's probably the main one that's gonna get the benefits of it, is First Street, was it Lost Street, Distillery, his place and the restaurants, all the rest of them are closed up, so. That's just a statement.
I mean, like any advertising, it's really hard to quantify. I mean, the fact, even if they don't come to the concerts, if they see advertised, oh, Durant, they say Durant's doing this or that, I mean.
But you have something that will qualify you because of this right here, it's showing you when that thing's hit, and which
Well,
one's
that's,
best.
that's some, yeah, that's some.
Well, this one, Facebook and Instagram will make a big difference. If it's on there, they're gonna have a big.
You can also look at this page with all the graphs. I actually just learned how to pull our website data. So when I put the events on to discoverdurant.com, you can see the spikes in that as well.
That's cool.
Is this information provided, aren't we contracted with somebody to provide this information to us in there? Comes that right out?
That comes up.
It comes
that
with our
off of the
website analytics.
Okay.
And we can pull that at any time, Danny.
Okay. Any more reports on current activity? Do we have any old business?
I have one thing. I would really like to, and if it's a committee that needs to be appointed, and we may have to vote on this next time because it is not an agenda item, but I really think we need to address the grants and look at those. When you look at an average grant that we are doing, on some of the $10,000 grants that we are doing, their budget is $20,000. And what that tells me is that we're funding them for half of what their budget is, because they're including that. So I think we really need to sit down and analyze their budgets that they are presenting. If that $20,000 budget is there, because they have requested that and they're requesting 10, I think we need to look at that as moving it down to a $25,000 grant. Because
25,000 or
2,500?
2,500,
Yeah.
not 25,000.
Otherwise, organizations who benefit from this board's generosity will have less incentive to do their own fundraising and organizing, which we would want to see organically happen within the community if we want to promote tourism. So it promotes the same, in a way, being stingy in that respect actually promotes the same goal.
Well, and the fact is, if you're looking at a $100,000 budget, more than likely you're looking at overnight stays.
Yeah.
And that's what replenishes the tax so that we can continue to supply the grants.
Yep.
And so I will list that if you would like as a line item for next month.
I think that's a good idea.
I've got a question under old business. I haven't heard any kind of a report here lately, and possibly you could help us. We had given on a special project, we had given the university money to help with that display that they've got out in the front, and they've got the waterfalls on the glass out there.
We call it Legacy Plaza.
But there was supposed to be a statue of the two brothers out there, and then it showed a plaque with our trust on it.
That statue has been ordered. And they
It's
said
being cast.
it takes about a year, about 12 months to get.
Now the question I had, that's good to have that as a report. The question I had is somewhere along the line I got the idea they asked what we wanted on our brick, but we weren't doing a brick. We were doing. There was supposed to be a plaque on the statue.
I think they will recognize us with a plaque.
I think the brick was in addition to the plaque.
And I hadn't heard any report on it, and so that's what I'm asking, just a report.
I did not, for some reason, I did not go the day. I think it may because it's extremely hot.
It was awfully hot.
I had something else that sounded better.
110 degrees that day.
Going on
Air
when you
conditioning.
had the dedication and the opening of it,
But surely we may not have that since it's not all completed, maybe.
I think
We
Grace
will,
has-
yeah, we will have both. We'll have a brick and a plaque.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my
Yes.
question. I hadn't, I just heard a little blurt, and
Yeah, it's being taken care of. They're working on it, and, yeah. We've been bouncing back and
There's-
forth, and
And there's a whole bigger piece to the next phase of Legacy Plaza. It's not, in fact, it's not just one statue. So, I mean, there's more going on, more other private fundraising and that type of stuff involved.
What kind of statues are they?
It's proprietary at this point. I don't know that I can elaborate on what else is occurring other than what's been approved by this board.
And
well, the plan, according to the plan, they're looking at redoing Morrison adding on to more, so
Mhm.
we can just do it.
And it's online. It's online. If you go to the Southeastern website and go to Legacy Plaza, it's online. The plans are laid out pretty well.
Any more old business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
No,
I'll
we
second
got new business, any new business?
No.
No?
I'll second it. Trustee Anthony, yes. Trustee Calhoun?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Reed?
Yes.
Trustee Thorpe? Vice Chairman DeWalt? Chairman Shear.
Yes.
There you go.
Sorry to vote no.
You what?
Sorry to vote no on this, John. Does anybody